Hello guys, welcome to Fictional Vortex. So in this video, we will see what if Naruto was the true dragon god of infinity, who married the dragon queens NarutoXOphis x Tiamat, High School DxD. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, Dimensional Fracture. The space between dimensions shattered like glass. Naruto Uzumaki tumbled through the fracture, his body wreathed in the golden light of Six Paths chakra. His final attack against Kaguya had torn something fundamental in the fabric of reality itself. As he fell through endless nothingness, memories flashed in desperate sequence, Sasuke's face twisted in shock, Sakura screaming his name, Kakashi reaching out with a hand that would never catch him. Kurama. Naruto shouted mentally, seeking the Nine-Tails' presence within him. The fox's voice came distant, strained. "Kit, something's wrong. This isn't like any spacetime ninjutsu I've seen." Naruto tried forming a Rasengan, but his chakra spiraled wildly, uncontrollable. The golden glow around him shifted, taking on a deep purple hue that pulsed like a heartbeat. "Your chakra, it's changing," Kurama growled, sounding alarmed. "Something's awakening inside you." Before Naruto could respond, the void around him cracked open. He plummeted through swirling colors toward a world that wasn't his own, a scream tearing from his throat as consciousness slipped away. Naruto crashed into a forest clearing, the impact sending birds scattering into the night sky. The moon above looked wrong, too bright, too close. He lay motionless in a small crater, the golden chakra cloak completely faded. When he finally opened his eyes, everything hurt. "What the hell happened?" he groaned, sitting up slowly. His orange and black outfit was torn and scorched. The surrounding trees looked normal enough, but something felt off about everything. The air tasted different, charged with unfamiliar energy. "We're not in our world anymore," Kurama stated flatly. "I can sense it. This place, the energy here isn't chakra." "Not exactly." Naruto climbed to his feet, wobbling slightly. "Gotta find someone, figure out where we are." He checked his equipment, kunai pouch still attached, headband secure. Small comforts. He jumped into the trees, muscle memory taking over as he leapt from branch to branch. The forest gave way to the outskirts of a city unlike any he'd seen before, tall glass buildings reflecting moonlight, strange metal vehicles moving along paved roads, lights everywhere without a flame in sight. "What kind of jutsu is powering all this?" Naruto whispered, crouched on a rooftop. "Not jutsu. This world developed differently. Be careful, Kit." Naruto sensed something approaching, fast. He flipped backward just as a spear of light pierced the spot where he'd been standing. A figure hovered in the air above him, dark wings spread wide against the night sky. "A human shouldn't have been able to dodge that," the winged figure said, a woman with black hair and glowing purple eyes. She wore what looked like leather armor, her wings definitely not a jutsu effect. "What are you?" Naruto dropped into a fighting stance. "I should be asking you that. What's with the wings? Some kind of Kekkai Genkai?" The woman tilted her head, confusion crossing her features. "Kekkai, you're not from around here, are you?" She formed another light spear. "Whatever you are, your energy signature is setting off alarms all over the city. My orders are to eliminate unknown threats. Look, I'm just lost." Naruto held up his hands. "I'm not looking for trouble." She hurled the spear. Naruto countered with a shadow clone that took the hit, popping in a cloud of smoke. The woman's eyes widened. Interesting trick. Naruto created 5 more clones that surrounded her. "I don't want to fight, but I will if you make me." The woman seemed genuinely surprised. "Multiple corporeal copies? You're definitely not human. Fallen angel?" "No, your energy is all wrong." A new presence landed on the rooftop, a young man with red hair wearing what looked like a school uniform. That's enough, Rainier. He doesn't appear to be hostile. The winged woman, Rainier, looked irritated. Lord Azazel ordered, I'll take responsibility, the redhead interrupted. He turned to Naruto with a polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. I'm Rias Gremory. And you are? Naruto dismissed his clones with a gesture. Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. Rias raised an eyebrow. Hidden Leaf? I'm unfamiliar with such a place. She studied him intently. Your energy, it's unlike anything I've encountered. Part of it feels demonic, yet not devil energy. Another part feels ancient. Look, I just need to figure out where I am and how to get home, Naruto said, keeping his guard up. Rainier scoffed. He's dangerous, Gremory. That power spike earlier was probably him arriving, Rias finished. If he meant harm, he would have done more than dodge your attack. She stepped closer to Naruto. You're in Ko Town. Based on your confusion and that unusual energy, I suspect you're from another realm entirely. Naruto's eyes widened. Another realm? Like, not just another country. Another dimension, Rias clarified. It happens occasionally. Though usually not with individuals of your power level. Inside Naruto's mindscape, Kurama growled. She's right, Kit. This isn't our world. And there's something else, I'm sensing entities here with power that rivals the tailed beasts. Before Naruto could respond, the air around them grew heavy. A tremendous pressure descended, making it difficult to breathe. Rainier dropped to one knee, her wings trembling. Even Rias looked shaken. This power. She whispered. A small girl with gothic Lolita clothing appeared floating above them. Her black hair reached her hips, and her emotionless gray eyes fixed directly on Naruto. The pressure emanated from her like heat from a furnace. Infinity, she said simply, her voice soft but carrying immense weight. You have it inside you. Naruto stood his ground despite the crushing force. Who are you? Ophis, the girl replied. The Ouroboros dragon. Infinity dragon god. Her head tilted slightly. You carry something that belongs to me. Rias had backed away several steps. Ophis, one of the most powerful beings in existence, she whispered to Naruto. If she's interested in you. The pressure suddenly doubled. Naruto felt something stir within him, different from Kurama. His vision blurred momentarily, and when it cleared, his hands were emitting a faint purple glow similar to Ophis's aura. Interesting, Ophis said, floating closer. You don't know what you are. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he declared, the purple glow intensifying with his emotions. No, Ophis replied calmly. You are more. The energy signature, familiar. For the first time, a flicker of emotion crossed her face, curiosity. Come with me. He's under my protection, Rias interjected, though her voice wavered slightly. As the devil in charge of this territory means nothing, Ophis cut her off. This is beyond devils, fallen angels, or any faction. Naruto crossed his arms. I'm not going anywhere until someone explains what's happening. I need to get back to my friends. Ophis stared at him for a long moment. Your dimension is closed. The pathway collapsed. The words hit Naruto like a physical blow. What? No, there has to be a way back. Perhaps, Ophis conceded. But not now. Not until you understand what sleeps within you. She extended her small hand. Come willingly, or I will take you. Your choice changes nothing but the ease of the journey. Naruto felt Kurama's concern. Kit, we might want to cooperate for now. This being, her power is immense. Different from anything we've faced. Rainier had backed away, clearly terrified. Even Rias looked uncertain. Fine, Naruto said finally. But I'm not your prisoner. And as soon as I figure out what's going on, I'm finding a way home. Ophis nodded once. Acceptable terms. Before Naruto could say anything else, the world around them blurred. The cityscape vanished, replaced by a vast, empty space filled with swirling colors and floating rocks, a dimension between dimensions. "Welcome," Ophis said, "to the dimensional gap." The dimensional gap defied comprehension. Endless space stretched in all directions, fragments of realities floating like islands in a cosmic sea. Naruto stood on one such fragment, a flat stone platform that seemed to exist outside normal physics. This place. Naruto breathed, watching as distant realities formed and collapsed like bubbles. "Home," Ophis said simply. She sat cross-legged on the stone, motioning for Naruto to join her. "Now, we talk." Naruto sat across from her, still wary. "About what's inside me?" "About what you are," Ophis corrected. "The nine-tailed fox is only part of your power." Naruto's eyes widened. "How do you know about Kurama?" "I can sense all dragons and dragon-like entities across dimensions," she explained. "Your fox is similar enough to register. But beneath that..." Her eyes narrowed. "There's a sliver of the original." "Original what?" "Dragon god of infinity," Ophis said. "Before me. Before creation as mortals understand it." Inside his mindscape, Kurama shifted uncomfortably. "Kit, she might be right. Since you arrived here, I've felt something changing in your chakra network. Something ancient awakening." A massive roar suddenly echoed through the gap. Naruto jumped to his feet as an enormous red dragon flew past their platform, easily the size of the Ten Tails. "Great Red," Ophis said, her tone cooler. "The dragon of dreams. My rival." The giant dragon circled back, its eyes focusing on Naruto. It didn't speak, but Naruto felt its gaze like a physical weight. "He senses it too," Ophis noted. "The fragment within you." The dragon flew closer, creating wind that whipped Naruto's hair around. Instead of fear, Naruto felt a strange recognition, like meeting a distant relative. "Kit," Kurama warned, "something's happening to your chakra again." The purple glow returned, stronger this time, spreading across Naruto's body like a second skin. Great Red rumbled, a sound almost like approval, before turning and flying away into the vastness of the gap. "What just happened?" Naruto demanded as the glow slowly faded. "Confirmation," Ophis replied. "Great Red rarely acknowledges lesser beings. He recognized the essence within you." "I still don't understand. What am I supposed to be?" Ophis stared at him. "In your dimension, you were a vessel for the Nine Tails. Here, that changed. The barriers between worlds are thin for beings of true power." She pointed at his stomach where the seal was located. "When you crossed over, something awakened. A fragment of the true dragon god, the original deity of infinity from which both Great Red and I descended." Naruto shook his head. "That's impossible. I'm just a shinobi from the hidden leaf." "You were," Ophis corrected. "Now you're becoming something else. The fragment has always been there, dormant. Your dimension suppressed dragon energy. This one encourages it." "So what, I'm turning into a dragon?" Naruto asked incredulously. "You're becoming what you always were," Ophis said. "The question is whether your human heart will survive the transformation." Before Naruto could respond, the platform beneath them trembled. A crack appeared in the dimensional space itself, and through it emerged a woman with blue hair and fierce eyes. Unlike Ophis's calm power, hers radiated raw, chaotic energy. "So the rumors are true," the newcomer said, looking directly at Naruto. "Ophis has found a new toy." "Tiamat," Ophis acknowledged without rising. "Chaos Karma Dragon. This doesn't concern you." Tiamat laughed, the sound echoing across the gap. "Doesn't concern me? The strongest dragon king? When you and Great Red are circling the same human?" She approached Naruto, studying him like a predator assessing prey. What makes you so special, little shinobi? Naruto met her gaze steadily. Honestly? I have no idea. I just want to get home to my friends. Home. Tiamat smirked. Your home dimension is sealed tight. I checked myself after feeling the disturbance. She circled him, blue scales shimmering across her skin in patches. But I sense something familiar about you. Her eyes widened suddenly, and she backed away. Impossible. What now? Naruto demanded, frustrated. The nine tails within you, Tiamat said, her voice lower. It reminds me of, but that can't be. Ophis stood. You recognize it too. The fragment. Tiamat looked between Ophis and Naruto. If what I'm sensing is correct, this could upset the balance of all realms. A dangerous smile spread across her face. How exciting. Look, Naruto said, I appreciate all this cryptic dragon talk, but I need straight answers. What's happening to me, and how do I get home? The answer to both is the same, Ophis replied. You must fully awaken what sleeps within you. The true dragon god's power could reopen the pathway to your dimension. Or destroy multiple realities in the process, Tiamat added cheerfully. Naruto felt a headache building. Great. Just great. Suddenly, Tiamat tensed, looking toward a distant point in the gap. We have company. The devils have noticed our little gathering. A magic circle appeared several meters away, and from it emerged Rias Gremory alongside several others, a small white-haired girl, a tall dark-haired woman, a blonde boy, and another young man with short dark hair. Ophis, Rias called, her voice carrying surprising authority despite the circumstances. The factions have called an emergency meeting regarding the dimensional disturbance and the newcomer. Politics, Ophis said distastefully. They're saying the barriers between worlds are weakening, Rias continued. Devils, angels, and fallen angels are working together to investigate. If he's the cause. She pointed at Naruto. I didn't do anything. Naruto protested. I was fighting someone in my world, and next thing I know, I'm crashing into yours. Regardless, Rias said, the faction leaders want to meet you. She glanced nervously at Ophis and Tiamat. All three of you, actually. Tiamat laughed. The dragons and faction leaders in one room? This should be entertaining. Ophis appeared indifferent. The politics of lesser beings are irrelevant. Maybe to you, Naruto cut in. But if they know something about getting me home, I want to hear it. He turned to Rias. I'll come with you. We all will, Tiamat declared, shooting a challenging look at Ophis. I wouldn't miss this for anything. Ophis sighed. Very well. She waved a hand, opening a portal. To your meeting, then. The group stepped through the portal, emerging in what looked like an enormous conference room. Representatives from various factions sat around a massive table, wings of different colors, auras of varying types, beings that radiated power. All conversation stopped when they appeared. A man with golden hair and 12 wings stood. Welcome, Naruto Uzumaki of the Hidden Leaf Village. I am Michael, leader of the angels. Beside him, a man with dark hair and an easygoing smile nodded. Azazel, representing the fallen angels. Quite an entrance you made into our world. A regal-looking man with crimson hair similar to Rias's spoke next. Surzex Lucifer, representing the devils. We have much to discuss. Naruto looked around the table, taking in the assembly of supernatural beings. Whatever was happening to him, whatever he was becoming, it had caught the attention of an entire world's power players. And somewhere in this mess, he hoped to find his way home. All right, he said, straightening his posture and channeling his confidence. Let's talk. The meeting room thrummed with tension. Naruto sat between Tiamat and Ophis, feeling distinctly out of place among the faction leaders. He'd summarized his story, the fourth ninja war, the battle with Kaguya, his unexpected arrival, while carefully omitting details about Kurama at Ophis's subtle warning. So you're saying you accidentally tore through dimensions? Azazel leaned forward, fascinated. What kind of power were you using at the time? Six Paths Sage Mode, Naruto replied. It's complicated. A combination of natural energy and chakra. Fascinating, Azazel murmured. And now Ophis claims you carry a fragment of the original dragon god. All eyes turned to Ophis, who had remained silent throughout most of the meeting. It is not a claim. It is fact. Surzex frowned. If true, this presents a significant concern. The power of a dragon god, even fragmented, could destabilize the peace we've established. I'm not interested in your politics, Naruto said firmly. I just want to find a way home. That may not be possible immediately, Michael said gently. The dimensional tear you created has sealed itself. Our researchers are studying similar phenomena, but reopening a specific pathway between dimensions requires enormous power and precision. Power he potentially has, Tiamat interjected, if he fully awakens. The room grew quiet at her words. Finally, Surzex spoke again. Perhaps a compromise. Naruto Uzumaki, while our researchers work on a solution, we offer you sanctuary in the devil territory of Kuo Town, under my sister Rias's supervision. Tiamat laughed. You think to claim him for the devils? It's merely practical, Surzex countered smoothly. He needs somewhere to stay, and Kuo Academy would provide excellent cover while he adjusts to our world. Cover? Naruto raised an eyebrow. You appear young enough to pass as a high school student, Azazel explained. Kuo Academy has many supernatural beings disguised as students. You'd blend in while learning about our world. School. Naruto groaned. I barely passed the first time. I will also remain near Kuo, Ophis stated unexpectedly. To monitor his awakening. All the faction leaders tensed at this announcement. And I'll be checking in regularly, Tiamat added with a predatory smile. Can't let Ophis have all the fun. Azazel cleared his throat. Two dragon gods taking interest in Kuo Town, this could complicate matters. It's already complicated, Surzex replied. He turned to Naruto. Do you find these terms acceptable? Stay in Kuo, attend the academy, and allow us time to research your situation. Naruto considered his options, which were admittedly limited. Fine. But I have conditions. 1. I keep training my own abilities. 2. You share any information about dimensional travel with me immediately. 3. Nobody tries to use me as a weapon in your politics. The faction leaders exchanged glances. Reasonable terms, Michael nodded. Agreed, Surzex said. Azazel grinned. This should be interesting. As the meeting concluded, Naruto felt Kurama stirring within him. Kit, something's still not right. These beings are hiding things. And that power inside you, it's growing stronger by the hour. I know, Naruto thought back. But for now, we play along. Learn the rules of this world. And then break them, as usual. Kurama chuckled. You know it, Naruto smiled internally. Rias approached as the others began filing out. I'll show you to where you'll be staying. Tomorrow, we can handle your enrollment at Kuo Academy. Naruto nodded, standing to follow her. As he did, he noticed Ophis watching him with those unreadable gray eyes. She made a small gesture with her hand, and Naruto felt the power within him resonate in response. We will speak again soon, Ophis said. The awakening has already begun. Tiamat appeared beside her, arms crossed. Don't let the devils domesticate you, Uzumaki. Dragons are meant for greater things. With that cryptic advice ringing in his ears, Naruto followed Rias out of the meeting room, stepping into his new temporary life in a world of dragons, devils, and fallen angels. Kuo Academy loomed before Naruto, an imposing structure of traditional architecture mixed with modern elements. Students streamed through the gates in uniforms that reminded him uncomfortably of formal clothes back home. "I look ridiculous," he muttered, tugging at the tie of his new uniform. Rias had arranged everything: documentation, living arrangements in a small apartment, and enrollment at the academy. "At least no one's trying to kill us, yet," Kurama commented dryly. Naruto took a deep breath and stepped through the gates. Immediately, he noticed several students with energy signatures different from ordinary humans. This place was indeed a gathering point for supernatural beings. "You must be the new transfer student," a voice said behind him. Naruto turned to find a handsome blonde boy smiling at him. "I'm Yuto Kiba. President Rias asked me to show you around." "Naruto Uzumaki," he replied, shaking Kiba's offered hand. "So you're part of Rias's group?" "Her peerage, yes," Kiba confirmed quietly. "We can discuss that more privately. For now, let me show you to your classroom." As they walked through the halls, Naruto noticed the attention he was attracting, particularly from the female students. His blonde hair and whisker marks made him stand out even more than being a new transfer student. "Is that the new boy? He's cute. Those marks on his face are so unique. I heard he's a foreign exchange student." Naruto caught fragments of whispered conversations. This kind of attention wasn't entirely new. He'd experienced similar reactions after defeating pain, but the context was wildly different. Kiba led him to Class 2B and introduced him to the teacher. After a brief introduction to the class, Naruto took his assigned seat near the window, coincidentally next to a brown-haired boy who was watching him with suspicious eyes. "Issei Hayadu," the boy whispered as the teacher began the lesson. "You're connected to President Rias somehow, aren't you?" Naruto raised an eyebrow. "You're in her peerage too?" Issei nodded slightly. "We should talk during lunch." The morning passed in a blur of unfamiliar subjects. This world's education system focused on things Naruto had never encountered: advanced mathematics, sciences that didn't exist in his world, history of countries he'd never heard of. By lunchtime, his head was spinning. "Don't worry about the academics too much," Issei said as they found a quiet spot under a tree in the courtyard. "Rias explained your situation to us. You're here for cover, not education." "Good, because I understood about 10% of what they were teaching," Naruto admitted, opening the bento box Rias had provided. "So what's a peerage exactly?" "Devils like Rias can reincarnate others into devils using special chess pieces," Issei explained, glancing around to ensure no one was listening. "I'm her pawn. Kiba is her knight. We serve her while gaining devil powers and protection." "Sounds complicated," Naruto commented between bites. "It has its benefits," Issei grinned. "Though I'm still working on creating my harem of beautiful women." Naruto nearly choked on his food. "You're what now?" "My dream," Issei declared, eyes blazing with determination. "To become the harem king. To be surrounded by gorgeous breasts of all sizes." Naruto stared at him blankly before bursting into laughter. "Well, at least you're honest about it." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden chill in the air. Students across the courtyard fell silent, turning to stare at something behind Naruto. He felt the familiar presence before he turned. Ophis stood there in a modified version of the Kuo Academy uniform, her expression as blank as ever. "Infinity Dragon," she said simply, pointing at Naruto. "We train now." Issei's jaw dropped. That's Ophis. The Infinity Dragon God. What is she doing here? And in our uniform?" Naruto sighed. "She's monitoring me." He stood, brushing off his pants. "Guess lunch is over." "But we have classes," Issei began. "Academic pursuits are irrelevant to his awakening," Ophis stated flatly. Naruto gave Issei an apologetic shrug. "Tell them I got sick or something." Before Issei could respond, Ophis touched Naruto's arm, and the school vanished around them. They reappeared in a vast, empty dimension, not the gap, but a created space that stretched endlessly in all directions. Your training grounds, Ophis explained. No humans to harm. No limits to observe. You know, a little warning would be nice before you teleport me, Naruto grumbled. Ophis tilted her head. Warning reduces efficiency. Right, Naruto sighed. So what are we doing exactly? Awakening your dragon power, Ophis replied. She raised a hand, and a ball of dark energy formed above her palm. First, we test your current limits. She flicked her finger, and the energy ball shot toward Naruto at incredible speed. Acting on instinct, he dodged sideways and formed a Rasengan, charging toward Ophis. The dragon god didn't move, allowing the spiraling chakra to hit her directly. The Rasengan dissipated against her body without leaving a mark. Interesting technique, Ophis observed. But insufficient. Naruto jumped back, calling on more of his chakra. Golden flames erupted around him as he entered his Ninetales mode. Be careful, Kit, Kurama warned. She's not someone you can defeat with raw power. I know, Naruto replied mentally. But I need to show her what I can do. In a flash of golden light, Naruto created dozens of shadow clones that surrounded Ophis from all angles. They attacked simultaneously, each wielding different Rasengan variations. Ophis merely waved her hand, creating a pulse of energy that dispelled all the clones instantly. Your fox power is impressive, she acknowledged. But it's not what we're here to awaken. She appeared directly in front of Naruto, moving faster than he could track even in Ninetales mode. Her small hand pressed against his chest. Feel the difference, she commanded. Fox chakra is warm, vital, aggressive. Dragon power is cold, eternal, absolute. Something resonated deep within Naruto at her touch. The golden flames flickered, purple energy bleeding into the chakra cloak around him. There, Ophis said softly. The fragment responds. The purple energy grew stronger, creating a strange harmony with Kurama's chakra. Naruto felt a sudden expansion of his senses. He could perceive the dimensional boundaries around them, feel the flow of power through reality itself. What is this? He gasped, looking down at his hands where golden and purple energy swirled together. The beginning, Ophis replied. Your human body must adapt gradually. Too much power too quickly would destroy you. The mixed energies receded slowly, returning to dormancy within him. Naruto felt simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. That was different from chakra, he admitted. Deeper somehow. Ophis nodded. Dragon power comes from the foundation of existence itself. Particularly for dragon gods. Naruto sat down heavily, processing what he'd experienced. So this fragment inside me, it's really part of some original dragon god? The original dragon god, Ophis corrected. From whom all dragons descend. Even I am merely an aspect that gained independence. How did part of it end up inside me? Unknown, Ophis admitted. Reincarnation perhaps. Or deliberate placement by a power beyond even my comprehension. A slow clapping sound echoed through the dimension. They turned to see Tiamat stepping through a tear in space, her blue hair flowing around her like water. Quite the light show, she commented. I felt the power spike from 3 dimensions away. Your presence was not requested, Ophis stated. Tiamat rolled her eyes. Since when do dragons wait for invitations? She approached Naruto, studying the lingering traces of purple energy around him. The fragment responded well. Better than expected. You two talk about this fragment like it's separate from me, Naruto said, frustration evident in his voice. But it's inside me, part of me. For now, Tiamat agreed. But as it awakens fully, the question becomes, will you control it, or will it control you? Neither, Ophis interjected. True awakening is harmony. Becoming what you always were. Always the philosopher, Tiamat scoffed. She turned to Naruto. Ophis can teach you control, but she can't teach you passion. Dragon power responds to emotion as much as will. She formed a blue sphere of chaotic energy between her hands. When you're ready for the next phase of training, find me. With that, she tore open another dimensional rift and stepped through, leaving Naruto alone with Ophis once more. Is she always like that? Naruto asked. Tiamat embodies chaos, Ophis replied simply. Unpredictability is her nature. Naruto stood, brushing himself off. So what now? You return to your cover identity, Ophis said. We train again tomorrow. The awakening must proceed at the correct pace. Before Naruto could respond, the dimension around them folded, and he found himself standing in an empty hallway at Kuo Academy. Ophis was nowhere to be seen. According to a nearby clock, several hours had passed. That was educational, Kurama commented. The power she drew out, I've never felt anything like it. Me neither, Naruto admitted. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a very, very bad one. As he made his way toward the exit, he spotted Rias Gremory waiting by the school gates. Ophis took you for training, she asked, though it wasn't really a question. Naruto nodded. How did you know? Your energy signature disappeared completely, then reappeared with alterations. She studied him carefully. How do you feel? Different, Naruto admitted. Like something's waking up inside me. Rias looked troubled. The faction leaders are concerned about these developments. 2 dragon gods taking personal interest in you, power fluctuations affecting dimensional stability. She sighed. Just be careful, Naruto. In our world, power attracts attention, not all of it welcome. Story of my life, Naruto replied with a wry smile. But thanks for looking out for me. As they walked away from the academy, neither noticed the figure watching from the shadows, a silver-haired woman with cold eyes, observing with calculated interest. She whispered into a communication circle. Target confirmed. The vessel is awakening. Shall we proceed with extraction planning? A distorted voice responded, yes. If he truly contains a fragment of the original, we cannot allow the dragons or devils to claim such power. Proceed with caution, Lavinia. We cannot afford mistakes. The woman nodded and vanished in a flash of magic, leaving no trace behind. Days passed in a strange rhythm of school, training with Ophis, and occasional visits from Tiamat. Naruto gradually adjusted to life in this new world, though thoughts of home never strayed far from his mind. He'd made tentative friendships with Issei and his friends, and even begun to understand some of the complex politics between the supernatural factions. Tonight, however, he sat alone on the roof of his apartment building, staring up at unfamiliar constellations. The moon looked wrong here, similar to home, but subtly different in ways he couldn't quite articulate. Missing your world? A voice asked from behind him. Naruto turned to find Tiamat standing there, more subdued than usual. She wore casual human clothes, jeans and a blue blouse that matched her hair. Yeah, he admitted as she sat beside him. My friends must think I'm dead. Perhaps you are, from their perspective, Tiamat said. Dimensional barriers can be cruel that way. They sat in silence for a few minutes before Naruto spoke again. Why are you really here, Tiamat? Ophis has her reasons for training me, but you. Tiamat laughed softly. Dragons are territorial and possessive by nature. Something awakes in you that resonates with what I am. She stared up at the stars. But there's more. Long ago, I was betrayed by someone I trusted. It left me, cautious. And this relates to me how? The fragment within you. Tiamat hesitated. If the legends are true, the original dragon god was betrayed as well. Shattered into aspects that became beings like Ophis and Great Red. If you're truly awakening that power, I want to ensure history doesn't repeat itself. Naruto studied her profile in the moonlight. Behind her usual chaotic energy, he sensed genuine concern. "I won't let that happen," he promised. "Whatever this power is, I'll master it my way, like I did with Kurama." Tiamat raised an eyebrow. "Kurama?" Naruto hesitated, then decided on honesty. "The nine-tailed fox sealed inside me. We started as enemies, became reluctant partners, and now we're friends." "Friends is a strong word," Kurama grumbled, though Naruto could tell he was pleased. Tiamat looked genuinely surprised. "You befriended a tailed beast? Those are nearly as old as dragons in some dimensions." "He's just as stubborn as you, too," Naruto grinned. To his shock, Tiamat laughed, a genuine sound of amusement. "I'd like to meet him properly someday." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden explosion several blocks away. Both jumped to their feet as a column of fire rose into the night sky. "That's near Ko Academy," Naruto realized, already moving toward the edge of the roof. Tiamat sniffed the air. Holy power. Angels? No, something else. Naruto formed a chakra cloak and prepared to jump. "I'm going to check it out." "I'll join you," Tiamat said, her casual clothes shimmering and transforming into battle armor. "This might be related to you." They moved swiftly across rooftops toward the disturbance. As they approached, Naruto spotted familiar figures already engaged in battle, Rias and her peerage fighting against a group of white-robed figures wielding light weapons. "Exorcists," Tiamat explained as they observed from a nearby rooftop. "Humans who hunt supernatural beings. But those robes." Her eyes narrowed. "They're not with the church. Those are Chaos Brigade markings." Chaos Brigade? A terrorist organization that wants to disrupt the peace between factions. They recruit from all races, humans, fallen angels, even stray devils. Below them, Kiba dueled with two exorcists simultaneously, his sword a blur of motion. Issei had activated some kind of red gauntlet that radiated dragon energy, while Rias fired destructive magic at the attackers. "They're holding their own," Naruto observed. "But why attack here?" His question was answered when a magic circle appeared behind Rias's group. The silver-haired woman Naruto had glimpsed days ago stepped through, along with several heavily armed companions. "They're not the primary target," Tiamat realized. "It's a diversion." The silver-haired woman looked directly up at their position and smiled coldly. "Naruto Uzumaki," she called out. "Vessel of the Fragment. I am Lavinia Whately of the Chaos Brigade. Our leader would very much like to speak with you." Tiamat growled, her eyes glowing with blue fire. "Chaos Brigade trying to claim a dragon god fragment. Not happening." Before Naruto could respond, a wave of purple energy washed over the area. Ophis appeared beside them, her expression showing the first hint of anger he'd seen from her. "You trespass," she stated, her voice carrying despite its softness. "The fragment is under my protection." Lavinia seemed unfazed by the appearance of two dragon entities. "The original dragon god belongs to no one faction. Its power should be liberated, not contained in a human vessel." "Liberated?" Naruto scoffed. "You mean stolen." "Semantics," Lavinia shrugged. "We merely wish to restore what once was. The fragment in you could reform the original, a power that could reshape reality itself." Below, the fighting intensified as more Chaos Brigade members emerged from magic circles. Rias and her peerage were being pushed back despite their skills. "Enough talk," Naruto declared, forming his signature cross-hand sign. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Dozens of clones appeared and leapt into the battle below, turning the tide instantly. The original Naruto faced Lavinia directly. "I don't know what this fragment is capable of yet, but I do know one thing, it's my power now, and I decide how it's used." As he spoke, the purple energy began to leak into his chakra cloak again, creating a swirling mixture of golden and violet light. Ophis and Tiamat flanked him, their own auras flaring in response. Lavinia's expression hardened. Then we'll take it by force. She raised her hand, creating a massive magic circle beneath Naruto. Ice began to form around his feet with supernatural speed. Absolute demise, Tiamat identified the spell. She's an ice specialist. Naruto channeled chakra to his feet, breaking free of the ice as it formed. He leapt forward, a Rasengan forming in his hand, but this one glowed with mixed golden and purple energy. This might hurt a bit, he warned as he drove the modified Rasengan toward Lavinia. The ice sorceress erected a barrier of frozen magic, but the Rasengan tore through it like paper. At the last second, one of her companions pulled her aside, taking the brunt of the attack. The explosion sent both flying backward. The fragment responds to combat, Ophis observed. Interesting. Tiamat had transformed partially, blue scales covering her arms as she engaged several Chaos Brigade members. Less observing, more fighting. Ophis sighed, then waved a hand dismissively. A wave of purple energy expanded outward, freezing several attackers in place as if time itself had stopped for them. Naruto created more clones, supporting Rias and her friends while pursuing Lavinia. The ice sorceress recovered quickly, creating ice constructs to battle his clones while she retreated to a defensive position. "You're stronger than expected," she admitted. "But we've prepared for this." She activated a complex magic circle that expanded to encompass the entire battleground. Ancient symbols glowed with harsh light as a summoning ritual began. "No!" Tiamat shouted, recognizing the symbols. "They're calling Ophis." "Who?" Naruto asked, dispatching another enemy with a chakra-enhanced kick. "The Dragon of Eclipse," Ophis explained, appearing beside him. "A fragment of darkness that opposes creation itself. Lesser than a dragon god, but dangerous." The summoning circle completed its pattern, tearing open a portal of absolute darkness. From within emerged a massive serpentine figure with scales as black as the void between stars. Its eyes glowed with malicious red light as it surveyed the battlefield. "Vessel of the fragment," it hissed, its voice sending chills down Naruto's spine. "Your awakening threatens the natural order. Since when do dragons care about order?" Naruto retorted, gathering his power. The creature laughed, a sound like grinding glass. "I care about dominion. Your fragment belongs to the void." "Enough," Ophis declared, stepping forward. Her small form began to glow intensely. "Ophis. Return to your domain. The Infinity Dragon commands me." Ophis mocked. "You are but an aspect, while I am whole." "But I am not alone," Ophis replied calmly. Tiamat joined her, blue scales now covering most of her body. "Two dragon kings and a dragon god against one eclipse serpent. Poor odds for you, Ophis." The dark dragon seemed to reconsider, its massive head turning to assess the situation. The Chaos Brigade forces were being overwhelmed by Naruto's clones and Rias's peerage, while Lavinia nursed a wounded arm. "Perhaps today is not the day," Ophis conceded. Its gaze fixed on Naruto again. "But know this, vessel, what sleeps within you cannot remain dormant forever. When it fully awakens, all dragons will feel the call." It turned to Ophis. "Even you, Infinity Dragon. Even you." With those ominous words, Ophis retreated into the portal, which collapsed behind it. Lavinia and her remaining forces took advantage of the distraction to escape through their own magic circles. As the battle ended, Naruto's enhanced chakra cloak faded, leaving him suddenly exhausted. He dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. "The power takes a toll," Ophis noted, examining him with those inscrutable eyes. "Your human form still struggles to contain it." Rias approached cautiously, her clothes torn from battle. "Naruto, are you all right? What was that about a fragment?" Tiamat, returning to her mostly human appearance, intercepted. "Dragon business, little devil. Nothing for you to concern yourself with." "It becomes my concern when my territory is attacked," Rias replied firmly. They came for me, Naruto admitted, standing shakily. This Chaos Brigade wants whatever power is awakening inside me. Which means you need better protection, Rias concluded. My brother should be informed. The devils cannot protect him from what comes next, Ophis stated flatly. Only dragons understand dragon power. As they argued, Naruto felt Kurama stirring anxiously within him. Kit, something's changing. That purple energy, it's beginning to affect my chakra too. What do you mean? Naruto asked mentally. It's like, harmonizing. Adapting my chakra to work with it instead of alongside it. The fox sounded troubled. Whatever this fragment is, it's growing faster than expected. Naruto rejoined the conversation, interrupting the debate between Rias and the dragons. Look, I appreciate everyone's concern, but this is my body and my power. I need to understand it on my terms. He turned to Ophis. I'll continue training with you. Then to Tiamat. And learning from you. Finally to Rias. But I'll stay in devil territory where at least some rules apply. The three females exchanged glances, an unspoken tension passing between them. Acceptable, Ophis finally said. For now, Tiamat added with a smirk. Rias nodded. I'll have additional wards placed around your apartment. As they dispersed, Issei approached Naruto, looking both exhausted and excited. Dude, that was insane. Your clones, that purple energy, and you've got two dragon ladies fighting over you. Naruto laughed despite his fatigue. It's not like that. Sure looked like it to me, Issei grinned. Man, and I thought I was making progress with my harem plan. You're on a whole other level. Trust me, it's complicated, Naruto sighed. And probably dangerous. As they walked back toward town, the night sky above them rippled slightly, a subtle disturbance in the dimensional fabric that went unnoticed by all except Ophis, who gazed upward with knowing eyes. The awakening accelerates, she whispered to herself. Soon, all worlds will feel its effects. In the distance, thunder rumbled despite the clear sky. Chapter 2, Awakening Infinity. Naruto sat cross-legged on his apartment floor, trying, and failing, to meditate. 3 weeks had passed since the Chaos Brigade attack, and his training sessions with Ophis had intensified. Today's lesson, connecting with the fragment's energy without relying on combat to trigger it. This is impossible, he groaned, opening one eye to glare at Ophis, who floated serenely a few inches above the floor across from him. It's different from Sage Mode. The energy doesn't want to respond unless I'm fighting. Dragon power responds to will and emotion, Ophis replied, her gray eyes opening. You force the Ninetales chakra. You gather nature energy. But dragon power requires resonance. Yeah, you keep saying that, Naruto muttered, stretching his stiff legs. But what does resonance even mean? Ophis tilted her head slightly. Your heart must match the dragon's heart. Poetic, but not helpful, Kurama commented inside Naruto's mind. Naruto stood up, pacing around the small apartment. The place was sparsely furnished, a bed, a table, some basic kitchenware Rias had provided. The walls were covered with protective seals combining devil magic and Naruto's own Fuinjutsu adaptations. Let's try a different approach, he suggested, forming a shadow clone. Maybe if we, a knock at the door interrupted him. Naruto dismissed his clone and opened the door to find Issei standing there with two other boys, the perverted trio, as they were known at Koe Academy. Naruto. Issei grinned. We're heading to the mall. You've been cooped up in here for days, come with us. The bald one, Matsuda, nodded enthusiastically. There's a new lingerie shop opening. Research opportunity. Motohama, the third boy with glasses, adjusted them with a gleam. My 3 sizes scouting ability needs field testing. Naruto glanced back at Ophis, who watched the exchange impassively. Training is incomplete, she stated. Come on, Naruto argued, I've been at this for 6 hours straight. Maybe a break is what I need to clear my head. Ophis considered this for a moment. Human vessels require rest periods. Acceptable. Issei's jaw dropped as he finally registered Ophis's presence in Naruto's apartment. The dragon god is just hanging out here. In casual clothes. Indeed, Ophis had abandoned her gothic Lolita outfit for simple black jeans and a purple t-shirt, an attempt to blend in that somehow made her seem even more otherworldly. She's helping me, Naruto explained vaguely. He grabbed a jacket from a hook by the door. Let me get my wallet. Your energy training will continue tomorrow, Ophis stated as Naruto prepared to leave. The fragment grows impatient. Yeah, that makes two of us, Naruto replied with a wry smile. As they left the apartment building, Issei bombarded him with questions. Seriously, what's it like having a dragon god as a tutor? Is she always that creepy? Does she ever smile? Is she staying at your place? One question at a time, Naruto laughed. And no, she doesn't stay over. She just appears whenever she wants to train me. Lucky bastard, Matsuda grumbled. First you've got Rias Gremory looking out for you, then the Infinity Dragon God, and I heard that blue-haired woman who visits you is some kind of dragon queen. Tiamat, Naruto confirmed. And trust me, it's not as awesome as you think. They're all just interested in this power I apparently have. Still, Issei said wistfully, being surrounded by beautiful, powerful women. Naruto rolled his eyes. Says the guy with a peerage full of them. The conversation shifted to more typical teenage topics as they reached the mall, a massive structure filled with shops, restaurants, and entertainment venues. For a few hours, Naruto actually enjoyed the normalcy of hanging out with friends, eating junk food, and laughing at Issei's outlandish harem plans. The peaceful afternoon shattered when Naruto sensed a familiar presence. He stopped mid-sentence, scanning the crowded food court. What's wrong? Issei asked, noticing his sudden alertness. Someone's watching us, Naruto murmured. A moment later, the silver-haired woman from the Chaos Brigade attack, Lavinia, strolled casually into view. She wore civilian clothes and carried shopping bags, the picture of innocence except for the cold smile she directed at Naruto. Don't look now, but the ice witch is here, Naruto whispered to Issei. Issei tensed, his left hand twitching as the dormant sacred gear within it responded to potential danger. Should we call President Rias? He asked quietly. No time, Naruto replied as Lavinia approached their table. Act normal. Fancy meeting you here, Uzumaki, Lavinia said pleasantly, setting her bags down and taking an uninvited seat at their table. Matsuda and Motohama immediately began drooling over the beautiful woman. Shopping with your little devil friends? What do you want? Naruto asked bluntly. Can't a girl browse for shoes without an interrogation? She smiled sweetly at the other boys. Mind giving us a minute alone? Absolutely not, Issei began, but Matsuda and Motohama were already standing. Take all the time you need with your friend, Naruto. Matsuda called as they retreated, clearly misinterpreting the situation. Lavinia chuckled. Humans are so easy to manipulate. Issei, go with them, Naruto instructed. I've got this. But, trust me, Naruto said firmly. Reluctantly, Issei backed away, though Naruto noticed he didn't go far, just enough distance to give privacy while remaining close enough to help if needed. Smart, Lavinia commented. Keeping your backup ready. I don't need backup to handle you, Naruto replied coolly. What does the Chaos Brigade want now? Actually, I'm here with a genuine offer. She leaned forward. Our leader has reconsidered his approach. Instead of taking the fragment by force, he proposes an alliance. Naruto raised an eyebrow. An alliance. The fragment within you is awakening whether you want it to or not, Lavinia explained. Ophis can't help you control it, she's merely an aspect of the original, not the true thing. We, however, have recovered ancient texts that detail the original dragon god's powers. And in exchange for this information, you want your assistance when the time comes. Lavinia's eyes gleamed. The supernatural world is stagnant, Naruto. Devils play their rating games, angels sing their hymns, fallen angels scheme in their corners, all while humans remain ignorant of the truth. With your power fully awakened, we could reshape this reality. Into what, exactly? A world where power isn't hidden behind false civility. Where the strongest rule openly. She smiled. Isn't that similar to your shinobi villages? The strongest becomes Hokage, yes. Naruto's eyes narrowed. You've been researching me. Of course. We know of your world, your battles, your growth from outcast to hero. She tapped a finger against the table. You changed your world. You could change this one too. Not interested, Naruto said flatly. I've seen what happens when people chase power for its own sake. It never ends well. Lavinia sighed dramatically. I expected you might say that. She stood, gathering her bags. The offer remains open. But know this, the awakening has accelerated. Soon, you'll lose control of the fragment's power. When that happens, remember who offered help without conditions. Ophis doesn't have conditions, Naruto countered. Lavinia laughed genuinely. Oh, you sweet summer child. Ophis is the dragon god of infinity. She exists to oppose Great Red. Everything she does serves that purpose, including helping you. She leaned down, her voice dropping to a whisper. Ask her sometime what happens when the fragment fully awakens. Ask her if you'll still be Naruto Uzumaki when it's done. With that parting shot, she walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Issei rushed back immediately. What was that about? He demanded. What did she want? Naruto frowned, watching the space where Lavinia had vanished. To plant seeds of doubt. About what? Everything. Naruto stood. I need to talk to Ophis. Finding a dragon god who didn't want to be found proved challenging. Naruto returned to his apartment, but Ophis was gone. He tried the occult research club room where Rias and her peerage gathered, but no one had seen her. Finally, as evening approached, he headed to the park where he'd first arrived in this world. The area was deserted, the playground equipment casting long shadows in the setting sun. Naruto sat on a swing, gently rocking back and forth as he reached out with his senses, feeling for that distinctive infinity energy. Ophis, he called out softly. We need to talk. Silence answered him for several minutes. Then, like a shadow detaching from darkness, Ophis appeared beside him, sitting on the adjacent swing. Your training session concluded early, she observed. Lavinia found me at the mall, Naruto replied. She made some interesting claims. Ophis remained impassive, her small legs barely reaching the ground as she sat motionless on the swing. She said you have your own agenda with my training, Naruto continued. That when the fragment fully awakens, I might not be myself anymore. Ophis tilted her head. You seek confirmation or denial? I seek the truth, Naruto corrected, turning to face her directly. What happens to me when this dragon power fully awakens? For a long moment, Ophis said nothing. The playground around them grew darker as twilight deepened into night. Finally, she spoke. Uncertainty exists. No vessel has ever contained a fragment of the original. But you have theories, Naruto pressed. 3 possibilities, Ophis acknowledged. First, you control the fragment, wielding its power while maintaining your identity, unlikely given its magnitude. Second, the fragment consumes you, replacing Naruto Uzumaki with a new dragon god, probable based on precedent. Third, integration occurs, you become neither Holy Naruto nor Holy Dragon, but something new. The bluntness of her assessment hit Naruto like a physical blow. So I might disappear. Be erased. Your consciousness might transform, Ophis clarified. The fragment contains memories, instincts, purpose from before time as humans understand it. Naruto stood abruptly, pacing in front of the swings. And you didn't think to mention this minor detail before starting my training? You did not ask. Ophis's expression remained unchanged. Additionally, the awakening proceeds with or without training. Uncontrolled emergence guarantees the second outcome. Great, Naruto muttered. Either I train and might lose myself, or I don't train and definitely lose myself. Yes. Her simple confirmation made him laugh despite the gravity of the situation. At least you're honest about it. Deception serves no purpose between potential equals, Ophis replied. Naruto stopped pacing, caught by her wording. Potential equals. You mean if the fragment fully awakens? You would become a complete dragon god, potentially surpassing both myself and Great Red, Ophis confirmed. The original fragmented itself for unknown reasons. Reunification of even one fragment with consciousness creates significant power. And that's what you want? Another dragon god to help you against Great Red? Ophis considered this. Initially, yes. Now, uncertainty exists. What changed? You, she said simply. Your human heart. Your bond with the Nine Tails. Your connections to others. She looked up at the emerging stars. These elements were unanticipated. Naruto sat back down on the swing. So what now? Do we continue training even though it might erase me? I will teach you to guide the awakening toward integration rather than consumption, Ophis replied. Perfect balance cannot be guaranteed, but probability can be improved. And if I asked you to help me suppress the fragment instead? Keep it dormant. Ophis finally turned to look at him directly. Impossible. The fragment awakens in response to this world's energy. Suppression merely delays the inevitable while increasing the danger of uncontrolled emergence. Naruto sighed, running a hand through his spiky blonde hair. Not much of a choice, is it? Choice exists in how you approach the inevitable, Ophis stated. Human stubbornness can influence outcomes thought fixed. Your existence demonstrates this repeatedly. Coming from Ophis, this was practically a pep talk. Naruto found himself smiling despite everything. Was that your version of a motivational speech? Observation of fact, Ophis corrected, though Naruto thought he detected the faintest softening around her eyes. Their conversation was interrupted by a massive surge of energy from the center of town. Both turned toward the disturbance. Devils, Ophis identified. And angels. Conflict occurs. Naruto was already on his feet. Let's go. For once, Ophis didn't teleport them. Instead, she nodded, and they ran together toward the disturbance, dragon god and shinobi, teacher and student, moving in perfect synchronization. They arrived at Kuo Academy to find the courtyard transformed into a battlefield. Angels with gleaming white wings exchanged energy blasts with devils from Rias's peerage. At the center of the chaos stood Surzek's Lucifer himself, facing off against a stern-looking angel with golden hair and multiple wings, Michael, leader of heaven. What's happening? Naruto asked as they paused at the edge of the confrontation. The summit, Ophis replied. Peace negotiations between factions. Disruption evident. Indeed, what should have been a diplomatic meeting had clearly descended into conflict. Naruto spotted Rias defending herself against a female angel while Issei backed her up, his sacred gear activated into a red gauntlet that covered his arm. I need to help them, Naruto decided, preparing to jump into the fray. Ophis caught his arm, the first time she'd initiated physical contact outside of training. Wait. Observe first. Faction disputes have histories and complexities. Reluctantly, Naruto held back, using his enhanced senses to listen to the argument at the center of the conflict. The devils have been harboring a potential catastrophe. The female angel fighting Rias shouted. Our seers have confirmed it, a power that could threaten all worlds is awakening in Kuo. My brother's territory has broken no treaty, Rias countered, deflecting an attack. The individual in question is under our protection while we determine the nature of his power. Irina, stand down. Michael commanded, his voice carrying across the battlefield. The female angel reluctantly backed away from Rias. Surzek's expression remained calm despite the tension. As I was explaining before your subordinate attacked my sister, Michael, we are well aware of Naruto Uzumaki's unique situation. That's precisely why we've kept him in a controlled environment. Yet you've allowed 2 dragon gods to directly interact with him, Michael countered. The power readings we've detected suggest rapid awakening of something potentially catastrophic. Politics, Ophis murmured distastefully beside Naruto. Humans, devils, angels, all fear what they cannot control. They're arguing about me, Naruto realized. This summit was about me all along. Inevitability, Ophis nodded. Your presence changes the balance. Before they could continue observing, a new voice cut through the tension. My, what a delightful mess you've all made. Tiamat strolled casually into the courtyard, blue hair flowing behind her like water. Her presence immediately drew all attention. Dragon King Tiamat, Michael acknowledged cautiously. This is a private matter between heaven and the underworld. Is it? Tiamat grinned, revealing slightly pointed teeth. Seems to me you're discussing dragon business without inviting the dragons. She spotted Naruto and Ophis at the edge of the courtyard and waved cheerfully. Ah! The guests of honor have arrived. All eyes turned toward them. Naruto felt a surge of irritation at being discussed like a problem to be solved rather than a person. Might as well join the party, he muttered to Ophis, stepping forward into the light of the courtyard. Ophis followed silently. Naruto Uzumaki, Michael addressed him directly. Do you understand what's happening to you? Better than you do, apparently, Naruto replied, crossing his arms. Since you're all talking about me instead of to me. Surzek had the grace to look slightly abashed. The summit was called to discuss the dimensional disturbances your arrival created. When Heaven's seers detected the dragon energy awakening within you, it complicated matters. Heaven fears the emergence of a new dragon god, Michael admitted candidly. The last time such an event occurred, multiple dimensions were damaged beyond repair. That was Great Red's birth, Tiamat clarified, sauntering over to stand beside Naruto. Messy business, dragon births. We merely sought preventative measures, the female angel, Irina, added, though she looked somewhat embarrassed by her earlier attack. By attacking Rias? Naruto challenged. A misunderstanding, Michael said firmly. Irina acted without authorization. Ophis, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke. Your fears are justified but misdirected. The awakening proceeds according to pattern. Interference increases danger. And we should trust the word of the Infinity Dragon? Michael asked skeptically. Your own agenda regarding Great Red is well known, Ophis. My agenda evolves, Ophis replied cryptically. Surzek raised a hand for calm. Perhaps we should continue this discussion civilly, as originally planned. He gestured toward the school building. The meeting room is prepared. All relevant parties should participate, including Naruto himself. Naruto nodded in agreement. I want to know what your seers think is happening to me. And what these preventative measures might involve. The tense standoff gradually relaxed as angels and devils returned to diplomatic mode. Rias approached Naruto as they moved toward the building. I apologize for this, she said quietly. The summit was supposed to be constructive. We didn't anticipate Heaven would react so strongly to the recent energy fluctuations. It's fine, Naruto assured her. Better to get everything out in the open. Tiamat chuckled beside him. Politics and dragons never mix well. This should be entertaining at least. Inside the academy, they gathered in the expanded student council room. A large round table had been set up, with faction symbols marking each section. Naruto found himself seated between Ophis and Tiamat, directly across from Michael and Serzex. "Where's Azazel?" Tiamat asked, noting the absence of the fallen angel leader. Investigating the Chaos Brigade connection, Serzex explained. "He sends his regrets." "Convenient," Tiamat murmured. Michael cleared his throat. "Let's begin by addressing the immediate concern. Our seers have detected rapidly increasing dragon energy centered on Naruto Uzumaki. The pattern matches historical records of dragon god emergence. And this concerns heaven because..." Naruto prompted. "Because the last time a dragon god emerged, 3 dimensions collapsed," Michael answered gravely. "The balance between realms is delicate." Serzex nodded. "The devils share this concern, though we've opted for observation rather than intervention thus far." "Your intervention would fail," Ophis stated flatly. "The fragment awakens regardless of external factors." "Fragment?" Michael repeated, leaning forward with interest. "What fragment?" Naruto looked to Ophis, who nodded slightly, permission to explain. "According to Ophis, I'm carrying a fragment of what she calls the original dragon god," Naruto explained. "The being that existed before her or Great Red. When I crossed dimensions, the fragment began waking up." The angels exchanged troubled glances. One of Michael's lieutenants, a stern man with multiple wings, leaned over to whisper in his ear. "Is there a way to extract this fragment safely?" Michael asked after listening. "No," both Ophis and Tiamat answered simultaneously. "The fragment is integrating with his existing energies," Tiamat elaborated. "With both his human chakra and the Ninetales power. Extraction would kill him instantly. And likely release the fragment's power uncontrolled," Ophis added. "Catastrophic dimensional collapse would follow." Michael frowned. "Then what solution do you propose?" "We cannot simply allow an unpredictable dragon god emergence to proceed without safeguards." "I'm right here," Naruto interrupted, irritation clear in his voice. "Stop talking about me like I'm some bomb about to go off. I've been controlling the Ninetales power since I was a kid. I can handle this too." "The Ninetales, while formidable, is still a being of a single dimension," Serzex countered gently. "Dragon gods transcend dimensional boundaries. The scale is entirely different. Which is why proper guidance matters," Tiamat interjected. "Between Ophis and myself, we're providing that guidance." "2 dragons with their own agendas," Michael pointed out. Tiamat bared her teeth in what only technically qualified as a smile. "Would you prefer to provide guidance, Archangel? What does heaven know of dragon ascension?" "Enough," Serzex interrupted before the exchange could heat further. "We need concrete steps, not arguments." A thoughtful silence fell over the table. Finally, Naruto spoke up. "I propose a test," he said. "A controlled demonstration of my current abilities under supervision from all factions. That way, you can see for yourselves whether I'm a threat." Michael considered this. "What kind of demonstration?" "Combat," Tiamat suggested with enthusiasm. "Let him face a worthy opponent to show his control." "That seems unnecessarily dangerous," Serzex objected. "Actually," Naruto said slowly, "Tiamat might be right. When I fought the Chaos Brigade, I maintained control despite the fragment's power surging. A controlled battle could prove I can handle this." Ophis nodded once. "Acceptable approach. Combat accelerates integration while providing measurable outcomes." After further discussion, the factions agreed to Naruto's proposal. The test would take place the following day in a specially prepared dimensional space where any damage would be contained. "The question remains," Michael said as the meeting concluded, "who will be your opponent?" Tiamat's smile widened. "I volunteer." All eyes turned to her in surprise. "You?" Serzex asked skeptically. "A dragon king against someone still learning to control dragon power?" "Precisely," Tiamat replied. Who better to test his limits? I'm powerful enough to challenge him, yet controlled enough not to kill him accidentally. She winked at Naruto. Probably. This is reckless, Rias objected from her position at the side of the room. No, Naruto said, meeting Tiamat's challenging gaze. It's perfect. Tiamat has been wanting to test me since we met. Might as well make it official. The vessel accepts, Ophis confirmed. The fragment responds positively to the challenge. Indeed, Naruto could feel a stirring of excitement within him, not just from Kurama, but from something deeper, more primordial. The fragment, as Ophis called it, recognized Tiamat as worthy. Then it's decided, Michael concluded. Tomorrow at noon, in the containment dimension. All factions will observe. As the meeting dispersed, Tiamat caught up to Naruto in the hallway. Her usual playful demeanor had shifted to something more serious. Don't hold back tomorrow, she warned quietly. I certainly won't. I never expected you would, Naruto replied. But why push for this fight now? Tiamat glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. The faction leaders are right to be concerned, even if their approach is wrong. Your power is growing faster than even Ophis anticipated. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Tomorrow isn't just a demonstration for them, it's a necessary step for you. The fragment needs to express itself in combat to properly integrate. And you're volunteering to get beaten up for my benefit? Naruto asked skeptically. Tiamat's laugh echoed down the hallway. Confident, aren't we? Don't worry, little shinobi. I'll give you the fight of your life. Her expression sobered slightly. Just remember, when dragon meets dragon, instincts take over. Be prepared for that. With those enigmatic words, she strolled away, leaving Naruto to wonder exactly what he'd agreed to. The containment dimension resembled a vast rocky plateau under a purple sky. No vegetation, no water, nothing that could be damaged in what promised to be a high-level confrontation. Naruto stood at one end of the plateau, rolling his shoulders to loosen them as he surveyed the battlefield. Around the perimeter, observation platforms housed representatives from each faction. Naruto spotted Rias and her peerage on the devil platform, Michael and his angels on another, and even Azazel, who had returned for the event, lounging casually with the fallen angels. Ophis floated cross-legged on her own small platform, observing with her usual impassive expression. Across the plateau, Tiamat stretched languidly. She'd abandoned her human appearance, revealing her partial dragon form, blue scales covering portions of her skin, claws extending from her fingers, her hair flowing like liquid sapphire. Are both combatants ready? Surzex's voice echoed across the dimension. Ready, Naruto confirmed, dropping into a fighting stance. Born ready, Tiamat called back with a predatory smile. The parameters are as follows, Michael announced. The match continues until one combatant surrenders or is rendered unable to continue. Lethal force is prohibited. Prohibited but possible, Tiamat amended with a wink toward Naruto. So stay sharp, shinobi. If the situation becomes uncontrolled, we will intervene, Surzex added, though Naruto suspected that would be easier said than done if two dragon-powered beings truly lost control. Begin. Azazel shouted with enthusiasm. Tiamat didn't waste a second. She launched forward with blinding speed, covering the distance between them in an instant. Her clawed hand swept toward Naruto's face, a test of his reflexes. Naruto ducked under the strike and countered with a sweep kick that Tiamat easily jumped over. They separated, circling each other cautiously. Not bad, Tiamat acknowledged. But that was just a warm-up. She inhaled deeply, her chest expanding, then exhaled a torrent of blue fire that scorched the air as it rushed toward Naruto. He formed hand signs in a blur. Water style, water wall. A barrier of water rose from seemingly nowhere, meeting the dragon fire with a massive cloud of steam. Tiamat's eyebrows rose in surprise. Water jutsu in a dimension with no water source. Impressive chakra control. I'm full of surprises, Naruto replied, already forming more signs. Shadow clone jutsu. A dozen clones popped into existence, surrounding Tiamat from all angles. They attacked in perfect coordination, forcing her to defend from multiple directions. Classic shinobi tactics, she commented, dispatching clones with efficient strikes. But predictable. The real Naruto hung back, watching her movements carefully. Tiamat was faster than most opponents he'd faced, and her dragon strength made each blow potentially devastating. Yet she moved with a fluid grace that reminded him of water itself, never wasting motion. Stop analyzing and start fighting seriously, Tiamat called out, destroying the last clone. Or are you afraid to tap into your real power? Just getting warmed up, Naruto replied, channeling chakra. The familiar golden glow of Ninetales mode enveloped him, his whisker marks deepening as Kurama's power flowed through his network. Tiamat's expression grew more focused. Now we're talking. This time when they clashed, the impact created a shockwave that cracked the stone beneath them. Naruto matched Tiamat's dragon-enhanced strength with Kurama's chakra, their exchange of blows becoming a blur of motion too fast for normal eyes to follow. On the observation platforms, the faction representatives watched with varying degrees of awe and concern. His control of the Ninetales' power is remarkable, Azazel commented to no one in particular. Perfect synchronization between human and tailed beast. But we haven't seen the dragon fragment manifest yet, Michael observed. That's the real concern. Ophis remained silent, her gray eyes tracking every movement of the battle. Back on the battlefield, Naruto created 2 more shadow clones, each forming a different Rasengan variant. They charged Tiamat from different angles while the original prepared a tailed beast bomb. Coordination, Tiamat noted approvingly, dodging the first clone's attack and countering the second. But still relying on known techniques. She summoned a sphere of chaotic blue energy between her hands, then slammed it into the ground. The entire dimension trembled as cracks spread outward from the impact point, destabilizing Naruto's footing. Chaos Dragon's domain shift, she announced as the landscape began to warp. Let's see how you adapt to changing terrain. The flat plateau transformed into a chaotic landscape of jagged spires and sudden drops. Naruto leapt from formation to formation, using chakra to adhere to surfaces as needed. His tailed beast bomb, disrupted by the terrain change, dissipated harmlessly. That's cheating, he called out, though he couldn't help grinning at the challenge. Dragons don't play fair, Tiamat replied, appearing behind him suddenly. We changed the rules to suit ourselves. Her clawed hand slammed into his back, sending him crashing through several stone formations before he regained control. Naruto flipped mid-air, landing in a crouch as he assessed the situation. She's holding back, Kurama observed inside his mind. Testing our responses. I know, Naruto replied mentally. Time to surprise her. He dropped Ninetales mode suddenly, the golden glow fading completely. Tiamat paused in her advance, eyes narrowing suspiciously. Giving up already, she called out. Changing tactics, Naruto replied. He closed his eyes, concentrating on what Ophis had been teaching him, reaching not for Kurama's chakra or natural energy, but for that other power slumbering deeper within. At first, nothing happened. Then, like a dam breaking, purple energy began seeping out from his chakra network, swirling around him in patterns that resembled constellations. There it is, Tiamat whispered, her playful demeanor vanishing. The fragment awakens. The purple energy intensified, forming a cloak similar to but distinct from his chakra modes. Where Ninetales mode felt warm and vital, this energy felt vast and cold, like the void between stars compressed into power. When Naruto opened his eyes, they glowed with purple light. This is what you wanted to see, right? His voice carried a strange echo, as if something else spoke alongside him. From her observation platform, Ophis leaned forward slightly, the most interest she'd shown in anything since arriving. Yes, Tiamat replied, her own eyes beginning to glow blue in response. Show me what the fragment can do. She fully transformed now, growing larger as scales covered her entire body. Wings erupted from her back, and her face elongated into a draconic visage. The Chaos Karma dragon in her true form was magnificent and terrifying, easily the size of a small building. Impressive, Naruto commented, his voice still carrying that eerie echo. The purple energy around him pulsed in response to Tiamat's transformation. My turn. Instead of growing larger, Naruto's form became more defined as the purple energy condensed around him. A translucent layer of armor materialized, not physical armor, but energy shaped into protective patterns that resembled scales. Behind him, a suggestion of wings formed from the same energy. Partial manifestation, Ophis murmured from her platform, audible only to those closest to her. The fragment expresses its true nature. Naruto felt strange, powerful beyond measure, yet somehow detached, as if viewing the world through two sets of eyes simultaneously. Part of him remained Naruto Uzumaki, shinobi of the hidden leaf. Another part was something ancient and vast, for whom the concept of individual identity was almost meaningless. Kit, stay focused, Kurama's voice cut through the haze. Don't let it overwhelm you. The fox's familiar presence anchored him, preventing complete dissociation. Naruto took a deep breath, forcing the two perspectives to align. I'm still me, he declared, both to himself and to the watching factions. Just with some extra power. Tiamat, in full dragon form, rumbled approvingly. Prove it. Attack me with everything you have. Naruto raised his hand, and the purple energy condensed into a sphere similar to a Rasengan but fundamentally different. Where Rasengan contained swirling chakra, this orb seemed to contain nothingness. A perfect void that somehow exerted pressure on reality around it. Infinity Sphere, he named it instinctively, knowledge coming from the fragment itself. He launched forward, moving faster than he ever had before, the orb extended toward Tiamat. She countered with a blast of concentrated dragon fire, blue flames meeting the purple sphere in a catastrophic collision. The resulting explosion sent both combatants flying backward and created a shockwave that would have destroyed the containment dimension if not for the combined efforts of the faction leaders reinforcing the boundaries. When the dust cleared, Naruto stood in a crater, the purple energy still swirling around him but less structured now. Across the battlefield, Tiamat had reverted to her semi-human form, her clothing torn and singed. Not bad, she called out, wiping blood from a cut on her cheek. But still just scratching the surface. She raised both hands, and the air around them distorted as she channeled her Chaos Dragon power. Let's see how you handle this, Karma realignment. Reality itself seemed to warp as probability fields shifted. Suddenly, Naruto found himself facing not one Tiamat, but 5, each one occupying a slightly different position in spacetime. What the, he began, before all 5 attacked simultaneously from different angles. The fragment's knowledge surged forward again, and Naruto instinctively responded. The purple energy expanded outward in a perfect sphere, creating a field where time moved differently inside versus outside. Infinity Domain, he named this technique, again drawing on knowledge that wasn't his yet somehow was. Inside the domain, Naruto could perceive all 5 Tiamats clearly, for were probability shadows, while only one was the true dragon. He moved with impossible speed, striking directly at the real Tiamat while ignoring the phantoms. His fist, wreathed in purple energy, connected with her chest. Tiamat's eyes widened in genuine surprise as the probability shadows collapsed and she was thrown backward, crashing through several rock formations before coming to a stop. You identified the real me, she coughed, rising to her feet. Through chaos probability fields. Impressive. The fragment knows things, Naruto explained, the purple energy fluctuating around him. It's feeding me information, techniques. And memories? Tiamat asked sharply, watching his expression. Naruto hesitated, realizing she was right. Fragmentary images flashed through his mind, ancient battles, cosmic events, dragons forming from the void of creation. Yes, he admitted. But they're not coherent yet. They will be, Tiamat promised, dusting herself off. That's part of full awakening. The original's memories become accessible. On the observation platforms, the faction leaders conferred urgently. The power is beyond what we anticipated, Michael said gravely. But his control appears intact. For now, Surzex replied. But if those memories fully integrate? Azazel, more relaxed than the others, shrugged. Kid's doing better than expected. The power is responding to his will, not the other way around. Ophis finally spoke. Integration proceeds optimally. His human consciousness provides framework. The Nine Tails provide stability. Back on the battlefield, Naruto and Tiamat circled each other again. Both were breathing heavily, though neither showed signs of giving up. Ready for round 2? Tiamat asked with a grin. Always, Naruto replied, the purple energy stabilizing into a more controlled form around him. What followed was a battle that words struggle to adequately describe. Dragon techniques met shinobi jutsu enhanced by ancient power. Tiamat's chaos manipulation warped reality, while Naruto's growing control of infinity energy allowed him to counter in ways that defied conventional physics. The containment dimension groaned under the strain of their power. Twice, the combined might of the faction leaders was required to prevent collapse. And still they fought, neither willing to concede. Finally, after what seemed like hours but was perhaps only minutes in the distorted time of battle, they faced each other across a battlefield reduced to rubble. Both were wounded, exhausted, yet somehow exhilarated. Enough, Surzex called out. The demonstration has provided sufficient data. One final exchange, Tiamat countered, her eyes locked on Naruto. To properly conclude. Naruto nodded in agreement. One last attack. All or nothing. They gathered their remaining power, Tiamat's chaotic blue energy spiraling around her like a tornado, Naruto's purple infinity power forming complex geometric patterns in the air around him. Chaos Karma final form. Tiamat shouted, her energy coalescing into a dragon-shaped avatar of pure power. Infinity convergence. Naruto responded, the purple energy forming a similar avatar that resembled neither human nor traditional dragon, but something more primordial. They charged, their power avatars meeting in the center of the destroyed battlefield. The collision created a singularity of energy so intense that space itself briefly folded around them. For a moment, both disappeared from perception entirely, existing in a pocket dimension created by their collision. When reality reasserted itself, they stood facing each other, all external energy dissipated. Slowly, Tiamat smiled and extended her hand. Draw. Naruto returned the smile, clasping her forearm in a warrior's handshake. Draw. The observation platforms erupted in relieved chatter as the factions processed what they'd witnessed. Ophis simply nodded once, as if confirming something to herself. The vessel's potential exceeds calculation, she murmured. Integration proceeds uniquely. In the aftermath of the demonstration, the faction leaders reached a tentative consensus. Naruto's power, while potentially catastrophic if uncontrolled, showed promising signs of stability. The test with Tiamat had proven he could access dragon energy without losing his identity or control. A small reception followed in one of Koho Academy's larger rooms. Naruto, cleaned up and bandaged, found himself the center of attention as various faction representatives approached to discuss what they'd witnessed. Your adaptation to dragon energy is remarkable, Azazel commented, nursing a drink that definitely wasn't permitted on school grounds. Most beings would be consumed by power of that magnitude. I've had practice, Naruto replied modestly. Kurama, the Nine Tails, was trying to take over my body since I was born. Compared to that, dragon energy is just, different, not necessarily harder. Interesting perspective, Azazel mused. The tailed beast serving as training wheels for godhood. Training wheels? Kurama growled indignantly inside Naruto's mind. I'd like to see this fallen crow deal with even one of my tails. Naruto suppressed a smile at the fox's wounded pride. Kurama's an equal partner, not training wheels. I couldn't control this fragment without him. Fascinating symbiosis, Azazel murmured. I'd love to study the interaction sometime. Before Naruto could respond, Rias approached with Michael. The Archangel has a proposal, she explained, her expression carefully neutral. Michael nodded. After witnessing your control today, Heaven is willing to assist in your training. We possess certain artifacts that might help stabilize the awakening process. What kind of artifacts? Naruto asked cautiously. Relics from the era before the biblical god sealed the dimensional boundaries, Michael explained. Some contain echoes of draconic power from that time period. Naruto considered this. I appreciate the offer, but I should discuss it with Ophis first. She's been guiding the integration process. Of course, Michael replied smoothly. The offer remains open. As the reception continued, Naruto noticed Tiamat standing alone by a window, looking uncharacteristically contemplative. He made his way over to her. Thinking deep dragon thoughts, he teased. Tiamat smirked. Something like that. She turned to face him fully. During our battle, when our energies collided at the end, did you see anything? Naruto hesitated. In that moment of energy singularity, he had experienced a flash of something. A memory that didn't belong to him. I saw a vast space, he admitted quietly. Stars being born. 3 dragons circling each other, one purple, one red, one that contained all colors and none. Tiamat's eyes widened slightly. The creation of the dimensions. You're accessing primordial memories. What does it mean? It means the awakening is accelerating, she replied. The fragment is connecting to its original identity. She studied him intently. When we fought, I felt recognition. The fragment knows me. From before? Naruto asked. From the beginning, Tiamat clarified. Before I was the Chaos Karma Dragon. Before individuality. She glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. The original didn't just fragment accidentally, Naruto. It was intentional, a division of power and purpose. Why? That's the question, isn't it? Tiamat's expression grew distant. Some say the original foresaw a threat that a single entity couldn't counter. Others believe it was simple evolution, consciousness dividing to experience existence from multiple perspectives. And what do you believe? Tiamat's gaze returned to him, startlingly intense. I believe we're about to find out. Their conversation was interrupted by Ophis's arrival. The small dragon god approached silently, her gray eyes fixed on Naruto. The integration deepened during combat, she stated without preamble. Awareness grows. Yeah, Naruto agreed. I accessed memories during the fight. Old ones. Inevitable progression, Ophis nodded. Further training required. Different approach. Different how? Tiamat asked, her interest clearly piqued. Trinity resonance, Ophis replied cryptically. Tiamat's eyebrows shot up. You can't be serious. That hasn't been attempted since, circumstances justify experimentation, Ophis interrupted. The vessel demonstrates unique adaptability. Would someone explain what Trinity resonance is? Naruto asked, feeling left out of a crucial conversation about his own fate. Ophis and Tiamat exchanged a look that contained volumes of unspoken communication. Dragon energy harmonization, Ophis finally explained. 3 sources, infinity, chaos, and origin, align to stabilize awakening. In less cryptic terms, Tiamat elaborated, Ophis represents infinity. I represent chaos. You, or rather the fragment within you, represent origin. By creating a 3-way resonance between our powers, we might be able to guide the awakening more precisely. Is it dangerous? Naruto asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Extremely, Tiamat confirmed cheerfully. If it works, you gain perfect integration without losing your identity. If it fails... She shrugged eloquently. Catastrophic dimensional collapse, Ophis finished matter-of-factly. Great, Naruto muttered. Just great. The choice remains yours, Ophis stated. Alternative approaches exist, though with lower success probability. Naruto looked between the two dragon beings, one embodying infinite nothingness, the other chaotic creation, and felt the fragment within him respond to their presence. There was a rightness to this trinity that transcended rational explanation. When do we start? He asked. Preparation required, Ophis replied. Location, timing, alignment must be perfect. The next cosmic convergence occurs in 3 days, Tiamat added. When the dimensional barriers naturally thin. That would be ideal. 3 days, Naruto repeated. All right. What do I do until then? Rest, Ophis instructed. Meditate. Allow natural integration to progress without forcing acceleration. Tiamat nodded in agreement. And avoid using the fragment's power unless absolutely necessary. We need you at full strength for the resonance. As the reception began winding down, Rias approached their group. Her expression suggested she'd overheard at least part of their conversation. Whatever you're planning, she said quietly, my brother should be informed. This affects all factions. Your concern is noted, Ophis replied dismissively. Tiamat, more diplomatic for once, placed a hand on Rias's shoulder. We'll brief Surzex before proceeding. But understand, little devil, some matters transcend faction politics. The awakening of origin energy affects the fundamental structure of reality itself. Rias didn't appear entirely satisfied but nodded reluctantly. Just promise me one thing, she said, turning to Naruto. Remember who you are, no matter what power awakens within you. I will, Naruto assured her. That's something I learned long ago, power is just a tool. It's the heart that matters. As the reception concluded and people began departing, Naruto found himself standing between Ophis and Tiamat, looking out at the night sky through the academy windows. 3 very different beings, connected by threads of power and purpose that stretched back to the beginning of existence. For what it's worth, Tiamat said softly, you impressed me today. Not just with power, but with control. With heart. Indeed, Ophis agreed, her usual monotone carrying the faintest hint of approval. The vessel demonstrates optimal qualities. High praise from dragons, Naruto chuckled. But I couldn't have done it without Kurama. Damn right, the fox rumbled within him. Don't forget it. As they stood there, a shooting star streaked across the sky, a brief, brilliant moment against the eternal darkness. Naruto couldn't help but wonder if it was an omen of what was to come. 3 days until the cosmic convergence. 3 days until Trinity resonance. 3 days until his fate, and possibly the fate of multiple dimensions, would be decided. Whatever happens, he said quietly, we face it together. Neither dragon contradicted him. The 3 days passed with deceptive normalcy. Naruto attended classes at Koho Academy, trained lightly with Rias's peerage, and spent evenings in meditation as Ophis had instructed. The fragment within him seemed to settle into a rhythm of gradual awakening, memories occasionally surfacing, power fluctuating but never surging uncontrollably. On the evening of the 3rd day, Naruto stood in his apartment, packing a small bag with essentials. The Trinity resonance would take place at a remote location, a dimensional nexus point where barriers between worlds naturally thin during cosmic convergence. A knock at his door interrupted his preparations. Opening it revealed Issei, looking uncharacteristically serious. Hey, Naruto greeted him, surprised. Everything okay? Can I come in? Issei asked. Naruto stepped aside, allowing his friend to enter. Issei paced nervously for a moment before speaking. Rias told us about what you're doing tonight, he finally said. This Trinity resonance thing. She said it could be dangerous. It is, Naruto acknowledged, seeing no point in denying it. But it's also necessary. Is it, though? Issei challenged. You could just, stay as you are. Keep training with Ophis without this big ritual. Naruto sighed, sitting on the edge of his bed. It's not that simple. The fragment is awakening regardless of what I do. Without proper guidance, it could overwhelm me completely. Issei sat beside him. President Rias is worried. We all are. You've become part of our group, you know. Even if you're not officially in the peerage. I appreciate that, Naruto said sincerely. More than you know. Finding friends in a strange world, it's meant a lot. Then let us help, Issei pleaded. At least let us be there during the ritual. Naruto shook his head reluctantly. Too dangerous. If something goes wrong, the energy discharge could affect anyone nearby. He placed a hand on Issei's shoulder. But I promise you this, I'm coming back. As myself. Issei studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. You better. I still need to show you my ultimate harem-building techniques. They both laughed, the tension broken. Issei stood to leave but paused at the door. Just one more thing, he said, suddenly awkward. About Ophis and Tiamat. What about them? Naruto asked. Are you, with either of them? Issei asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Because they're both incredibly hot, and they seem really interested in you, and, it's not like that, Naruto interrupted, though he felt his face warming slightly. They're interested in the fragment, not me personally. Issei looked skeptical. I don't know, man. The way they look at you sometimes, especially Tiamat. And even Ophis has been less. Ophis-like recently. Before Naruto could formulate a response, another presence made itself known. The vessel's personal relationships are irrelevant to the resonance procedure, Ophis stated, materializing in the center of the room without warning. Issei jumped nearly a foot in the air. Gah! Don't do that. Normal people use doors. Inefficient, Ophis dismissed. Time approaches. We must depart. Right, Naruto nodded, grabbing his bag. He turned to Issei. Tell everyone not to worry. I'll see you tomorrow. Issei didn't look convinced but stepped aside. Good luck. With everything. As Issei left, Tiamat arrived, through the window rather than teleporting or using the door. She perched on the windowsill with casual grace. Ready for the big night, she asked, her usual playful tone underlined with seriousness. As ready as I'll ever be, Naruto replied, slinging his bag over his shoulder. Ophis raised her hand, creating a swirling portal of purple energy. The Nexus awaits. The three stepped through the portal together, leaving the human world behind. They emerged on what appeared to be a small island floating in an endless void. The sky above was filled with swirling cosmic patterns, galaxies and nebulae close enough to touch, stars being born and dying in accelerated time. The dimensional nexus, Tiamat announced. One of the few places where all worlds connect naturally. The island itself was barren except for a circular platform at its center, carved with intricate symbols that glowed faintly with otherworldly light. 3 distinct patterns formed a triangle, one purple, one blue, one gold. The resonance points, Ophis explained, moving to the purple vertex. Infinity. Tiamat took her position at the blue vertex. Chaos. Naruto approached the remaining gold vertex hesitantly. Origin, I guess. Correct, Ophis confirmed. The convergence begins in 17 minutes. Preparation is necessary. She began explaining the procedure in more detail. Each of them would channel their respective energies simultaneously, creating a 3-way harmony that would stabilize the fragment's awakening. The cosmic convergence would naturally amplify the process, allowing for deeper integration without dimensional damage. There is risk, Ophis acknowledged. If energies misalign, feedback cascade could occur. Meaning we all go boom in a spectacular multidimensional explosion, Tiamat translated cheerfully. So, try to focus. Great pep talk, Naruto muttered. Any last-minute advice? Both dragons grew serious. Remember who you are, Tiamat said, echoing Rias's words from days earlier. When the memories come, and they will come, don't lose yourself in them. Anchor to present consciousness, Ophis added. The Nine Tails provide stability. Utilize this connection. Naruto nodded, taking his position at the gold vertex of the triangle. Inside him, Kurama stirred anxiously. Kit, whatever happens, I'm with you, the fox assured him. We've faced worse odds before. Thanks, partner, Naruto replied mentally. Aloud, he asked, what now? We wait, Ophis answered, her gaze fixed on the cosmic display above. The convergence approaches. As they waited, Naruto felt the fragment within him growing restless, as if sensing the imminent awakening. Memories flickered at the edges of his consciousness, ancient, vast, beyond human comprehension. He breathed deeply, centering himself as he'd been taught. 2 minutes, Ophis announced eventually. Tiamat rolled her shoulders, blue scales rippling across her skin as she prepared. Once we begin, we can't stop until completion. No matter what happens, maintain the flow. I understand, Naruto confirmed. The cosmic patterns above accelerated, stars and galaxies blurring together in streams of light. The platform beneath them pulsed in response, the symbols brightening. Begin, Ophis commanded as the convergence reached its peak. All three channeled their respective energies simultaneously. Ophis's infinity power, purple and cold, containing endless potential, flowed into the platform. Tiamat's chaos energy, blue and vibrant, constantly shifting and evolving, joined it. Finally, Naruto reached deep within himself, past Kurama's chakra to the fragment of origin slumbering in his core. The golden energy that emerged was unlike anything he'd experienced before, not the purple-tinted power he'd used against Tiamat, but something more fundamental. This energy didn't feel cold like Ophis's or dynamic like Tiamat's. It felt absolute. The foundation upon which all other power built itself. The three energies met in the center of the triangle, swirling together in patterns too complex for the mind to track. At first, they remained distinct, purple, blue, gold, but gradually began harmonizing, creating new colors and frequencies. Resonance initializing, Ophis noted, her voice strained with concentration. Naruto felt the fragment responding, awakening fully for the first time. With it came a torrent of memories, not fragmentary glimpses like before, but complete recollections that threatened to overwhelm his consciousness. He saw the beginning of creation itself. The void before dimensions existed. The first stirrings of consciousness in that primordial emptiness. The birth of the original dragon god, a being of such complexity that even perceiving its true nature was almost impossible. Then, the decision. The intentional fragmentation. The original splitting itself into aspects, infinity, dreams, chaos, and countless others, each taking a portion of the whole to exist independently. Stay anchored. Tiamat shouted, her voice seeming distant through the flood of memories. Don't get lost in the past. Naruto struggled to maintain his identity as the memories continued. He saw dimensions forming, life evolving, the aspects taking distinct forms. He saw Great Red emerging from dreams, Ophis forming from infinity. He saw Tiamat and the other dragon kings coalescing from chaos principles. And he saw what came after, the wars, the alliances, the emergence of gods and devils and angels. The sealing of dimensional boundaries. The slow forgetting as beings who had once been aspects of a greater whole began to view themselves as entirely separate. Naruto. Kurama's voice cut through the memories. Don't forget who you are. The fox's chakra surged protectively, creating a barrier between Naruto's consciousness and the overwhelming flood of origin memories. Naruto clung to that familiar presence, using it to maintain his sense of self. The integration approaches critical point, Ophis announced, her monotone finally showing stress. Decision required. What decision? Naruto managed to ask through the maelstrom of power and memory. The fragment must choose, Tiamat explained urgently. Consume or integrate. Become origin entirely or become something new. Naruto understood suddenly. The fragment had awakened enough to make a choice, to take over completely, erasing Naruto Uzumaki and becoming the original once more, or to truly integrate with his existing identity, creating something unique. How do I influence this choice? He asked, fighting to maintain concentration as the resonance intensified. You already are, Tiamat replied. Your will against Origin's nature. Your bonds against cosmic purpose. Naruto focused on those bonds, his connection to Kurama, his friendship with Issei and Ryusa's group, his growing relationships with Ophis and Tiamat themselves. He thought of his friends back home, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, everyone who had shaped him into who he was. I am Naruto Uzumaki, he declared firmly. I carry the fragment of origin, but it doesn't define me. We integrate as equals or not at all. The resonance reached its peak, the three energies now completely harmonized into a single radiant power that filled the nexus with light. For a moment, everything paused, time, space, thought itself suspended in perfect equilibrium. Then, like a key turning in a lock, something fundamental shifted within Naruto. The fragment's power, memories, and nature didn't overwhelm his identity but merged with it seamlessly. He remained Naruto Uzumaki, yet simultaneously accessed the vast perspective of origin. The two weren't fighting for control anymore, they had become something greater than either could be alone. The resonance began to stabilize, the harmonized energy flowing back into each of them in equal measure. Naruto felt his body changing subtly, adapting to permanently house the integrated power. As the cosmic convergence began to wane, the energy flow gradually diminished, leaving the three of them standing in their respective positions, exhausted but intact. It worked, Tiamat breathed, astonishment evident in her voice. True integration. I didn't think it was possible. Unprecedented outcome, Ophis agreed, studying Naruto with newfound interest. Neither consumption nor suppression, but perfect equilibrium. Naruto looked down at his hands, which now bore faint golden markings that resembled circuit patterns. He could feel the integrated power flowing through his chakra network, working in harmony with Kurama's energy rather than competing with it. I remember everything, he said quietly. The beginning. The fragmentation. All of it. But it's like, watching someone else's memories while knowing they're also mine. The ideal integration outcome, Ophis confirmed. Access without subsumption. Naruto looked up at the cosmic display above, seeing it with new understanding. The patterns weren't random but meaningful, dimensional currents flowing between worlds, the rhythm of creation itself. What happens now? He asked. Tiamat approached, her expression uncharacteristically gentle. Now you learn to live as something new, neither fully human, nor fully dragon god, but both simultaneously. The Trinity remains necessary, Ophis added, joining them. Continued resonance stabilizes integration. Meaning we stick together, Tiamat translated. The three of us, maintaining balance. Naruto considered this. The prospect didn't bother him as much as it might have weeks ago. Both dragons had become important to him, Ophis with her straightforward wisdom, Tiamat with her chaotic passion. I can work with that, he agreed. But I still want to find a way home eventually. With integrated origin power, dimensional travel becomes possible, Ophis noted. Practice required. So I could visit my dimension? Naruto asked eagerly. Eventually, Tiamat cautioned. But stable portals take significant skill. Try too soon, and you might tear reality instead. Naruto nodded, accepting this limitation for now. The knowledge that a path home existed was enough for the moment. As the cosmic convergence concluded, Ophis opened a portal back to the human world. The three stepped through, returning to Naruto's apartment as dawn broke over Kuo town. Rest, Ophis instructed. Integration continues at cellular level. Recovery necessary before power demonstration, Tiamat added. Power demonstration? Naruto questioned. The factions will want evidence of successful integration, Tiamat explained. Better to show them controlled power than have them fear the unknown. Makes sense, Naruto agreed, feeling exhaustion catching up with him. Tomorrow, then. As the dragons prepared to depart, Naruto felt a strange reluctance to see them go. Something had changed between them during the resonance, a connection deeper than teacher and student or even allies. Wait, he said impulsively. Stay. Both of you. Ophis tilted her head questioningly. The apartment's small, but... Naruto shrugged. I don't want to be alone right now. Not with all these new memories settling in. Tiamat smiled, understanding what he couldn't quite articulate. Trinity resonance creates bonds. It's natural to want proximity after such an experience. Logical, Ophis agreed. Continued presence stabilizes integration. They arranged themselves around the small apartment, Ophis taking the window seat where she could observe the sky, Tiamat sprawling comfortably on the couch, Naruto collapsing onto his bed fully clothed, too exhausted for formalities. As sleep claimed him, Naruto felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced since arriving in this world. The fragment, no, the integrated origin power, settled contentedly within him, no longer fighting for emergence but working in harmony with his existing energies. You did it, Kit, Kurama murmured. You faced a god and made it part of you instead of the other way around. We did it, Naruto corrected sleepily. Couldn't have managed without you, partner. In the twilight between waking and dreaming, he sensed Ophis and Tiamat watching over him, infinity and chaos guarding the newly integrated origin. Trinity, balance, harmony. Whatever challenges tomorrow brought, they would face them together. The news of successful integration spread quickly through the supernatural community. By mid-morning, Naruto's apartment had become a diplomatic hot spot, with representatives from various factions arriving to verify the outcome for themselves. Serzex arrived with Graphia, his silver-haired queen. Michael brought his sister Gabriel, whose radiance filled the small apartment. Azazel sauntered in last, looking more curious than concerned. I can sense the change from here, the fallen angel leader commented, studying Naruto with fascinated eyes. Stable integration of origin energy, I wouldn't have believed it possible. The Trinity resonance succeeded beyond projection, Ophis stated from her position by the window, where she hadn't moved since the previous night. Tiamat, lounging on the couch, nodded. The kid special. His human consciousness provided the framework needed for true integration rather than consumption. And you're feeling, yourself? Serzex asked Naruto directly. I'm still me, Naruto confirmed. Just with access to Origin's memories and powers. It's like, having a library in my head that I can browse but don't get lost in. Michael studied him with penetrating eyes. The power readings are extraordinary. Nearly on par with a dragon god, yet distinctly different. He's neither human nor dragon god now, Tiamat explained. But something new, a true hybrid existence. Fascinating, Azazel murmured. The implications for dimensional theory alone. The important question, Gabriel interjected, her voice melodious, is whether this integration poses any threat to the current balance between factions. All eyes turned to Naruto expectantly. I have no interest in faction politics, he stated firmly. My goals haven't changed, I want to master these powers and eventually find a way back to my home dimension. While maintaining the Trinity bond, Ophis added. Serzex nodded thoughtfully. A reasonably stable arrangement, provided the Trinity doesn't interfere with existing treaties. Speaking of which, Azazel said, suddenly more serious, our intelligence suggests the Chaos Brigade is mobilizing. They know the integration occurred and are likely planning their next move. Let them come, Tiamat said dismissively. The Trinity can handle a few terrorists. Don't underestimate them, Azazel warned. Our sources indicate they're attempting to summon something significant. Elaborate, Ophis requested, showing rare interest in external matters. An entity they're calling the Void Serpent, Azazel explained. Ancient texts reference it as a negative aspect of origin, a shadow cast when the original dragon god first formed. Naruto felt a chill of recognition. The integrated memories provided context immediately, the Void Serpent, the empty hunger that had existed alongside origin at the beginning. Not truly sentient, but a force of uncreation that sought to return all existence to primordial nothingness. They can't control something like that, he said, alarm evident in his voice. The Void Serpent doesn't serve, it consumes. You remember it? Michael asked sharply. Origin remembers, Naruto clarified. It was the first adversary, the reason the original fragmented in the first place. Dividing consciousness was the only way to seal the void across multiple dimensions. Tiamat sat up straight, her playful demeanor vanishing. If they're trying to summon the Void Serpent, they need a connection to origin energy. Her eyes widened. The battle with Ophis, they must have collected residual energy then. Precisely our conclusion, Surzex confirmed gravely. The demonstration battle provided them with samples of awakening origin power, which they're using as a beacon for their summoning ritual. When? Ophis asked. Our intelligence suggests 3 days from now, during the dark moon, Azazel replied. They're gathering components for the ritual as we speak. Then we have 3 days to prepare, Naruto stated, standing up. The Trinity needs to be ready. The faction leaders exchanged glances. This threat concerns all factions, Surzex noted. A joint response may be necessary. Agreed, Michael nodded. Heaven will provide support. The Grigori are in as well, Azazel added. This is bigger than our usual squabbles. As the meeting continued, discussing strategies and coordinating resources, Naruto found himself staring out the window at the peaceful town below. Ordinary humans went about their lives, completely unaware of the cosmic danger gathering on the horizon. Another day, another world-ending threat, Kurama commented dryly inside his mind. Some things never change, regardless of dimension. At least we're not facing it alone, Naruto replied mentally. The Fox's agreement was tinged with surprising affection. We never really are we, Kit? The faction leaders eventually departed to mobilize their forces, leaving Naruto alone with Ophis and Tiamat once more. The three sat in thoughtful silence until Tiamat finally spoke. Well, this is an unexpected complication. Fighting the Void Serpent wasn't on my calendar for this week. The summoning must be prevented, Ophis stated flatly. Even partial manifestation threatens dimensional stability. Naruto nodded, the integrated origin knowledge providing clear understanding of the danger. We need to train, specifically as a trinity. If the Chaos Brigade succeeds even partially, we'll need perfect coordination to counter the void. Trinity combat techniques, Ophis agreed. Harmonic energy application. In plain language, Tiamat translated, we need to learn to fight as one unit, combining our powers instead of just using them side by side. Can we master that in 3 days? Naruto asked. With origin integration accelerating your learning curve? Probably, Tiamat shrugged. The real question is whether 3 aspects are enough to counter the void. Originally, it took hundreds of fragments working together. Quality over quantity, Ophis stated. 3 primary aspects possess greater potential than many lesser ones. She's right, Naruto realized, drawing on Origin's memories. Infinity, chaos, and integrated origin form the fundamental triangle of existence. We represent the core principles that shaped reality. Look at you, talking like a proper cosmic entity, Tiamat teased, though her eyes showed approval. Next you'll be speaking in riddles and appearing in dreams. Never, Naruto promised with a grin. I'll leave the cryptic stuff to Ophis. To their surprise, Ophis's lips curved in the faintest suggestion of a smile. Efficient communication style. Both Naruto and Tiamat stared at her in shock. Did you just make a joke? Tiamat asked incredulously. Observation of fact, Ophis replied, though the hint of a smile remained. Naruto laughed, the tension of the situation temporarily broken. Trinity resonance has side effects, apparently. Indeed, Ophis agreed. Personality bleed-through occurs at subtle levels. Tiamat groaned dramatically. Great. Am I going to start talking in monotone and you'll develop my spectacular sense of humor? Worse fates exist, Ophis commented dryly. The three looked at each other and, for the first time since forming their alliance, shared a moment of genuine amusement together. Despite the looming threat, despite the cosmic stakes, they found comfort in their emerging bond. All right, Naruto said, standing and stretching. Let's get to work. We have a void serpent to stop and only 3 days to prepare. Ophis opened a portal to their training dimension. Trinity combat integration begins now. Tiamat cracked her knuckles, blue scales rippling across her skin in anticipation. This should be fun. As they stepped through the portal together, Naruto felt the integrated origin power humming contentedly within him. Whatever faced them on the other side of those 3 days, they would meet it as something greater than their individual selves. They would meet it as Trinity. The next 3 days passed in a blur of intensive training. The Trinity worked tirelessly to develop combat techniques that harmonized their respective powers, Ophis's infinite potential, Tiamat's chaotic creativity, and Naruto's integrated origin foundation. They discovered that when properly aligned, their powers could achieve effects impossible for any of them individually. Ophis could create spaces of pure infinity, Tiamat could manipulate reality through chaos principles, and Naruto could establish fundamental frameworks that guided and stabilized these effects. On the morning of the 3rd day, as they prepared for the confrontation with the Chaos Brigade, Naruto stood at the center of their training dimension, golden energy flowing around him in complex patterns. Ophis and Tiamat flanked him, their respective energies intertwining with his. Trinity resonance, dimensional anchor, Naruto called out, naming their most powerful defensive technique. The combined energies expanded outward, creating a field where reality itself became fixed and immutable, a counter to the void serpent's unmaking nature. They held the technique for several minutes before gradually releasing it. Execution improved by 27% since yesterday, Ophis noted with approval. Not bad for 3 days of work, Tiamat agreed, wiping sweat from her brow. Even dragon stamina had its limits. Naruto nodded, catching his breath. The integrated origin power had accelerated his learning tremendously, but maintaining Trinity techniques still required immense concentration. I think we're as ready as we can be, he said finally. Should we check in with the factions? Ophis opened a communication circle, connecting them to the joint operations center established by the 3 factions. Surzex's face appeared in the projection. Ah, the Trinity, he greeted them. We were about to contact you. Our scouts have located the Chaos Brigade's ritual site, an abandoned temple complex in the mountains north of Kuo. Numbers? Tiamat asked. Approximately 50 members, including Lavinia and several other high-ranking operatives, Surzex reported. They've established a dimensional barrier around the site, but our combined forces can breach it. The plan? Ophis inquired. A 3-pronged attack, Surzex explained. Devil forces will engage their front line. Angels will counter their ritual specialists. Fallen angels will handle aerial defense and prevent escapes. And the Trinity? Naruto asked. You'll form our core strike team, Surzex replied. Once we create an opening, you'll penetrate to the ritual chamber itself and stop the summoning. If the summoning has already begun? Ophis questioned. Surzex's expression grew grim. Then you'll need to contain whatever comes through until we can establish a sealing perimeter. Understood, Naruto nodded. When do we move? Sunset, Sirzex answered. The ritual requires the dark of the moon, which begins at midnight. We need to be in position well before then. As the communication ended, the three exchanged determined glances. This is it, Tiamat said, stretching her arms above her head. Our first real test as Trinity. Probability of success? Ophis asked, looking at Naruto. Naruto smiled at her unexpected request for reassurance. With us working together? Pretty damn high. They returned to the human world to make final preparations. Naruto insisted on stopping by Kuo Academy first, wanting to check on his friends before the coming battle. They found Rias and her peerage in the Occult Research Club room, preparing their own equipment for the joint operation. Issei jumped up as they entered. Naruto. We heard you completed the integration successfully, he exclaimed, examining his friend for visible changes. You don't look that different. The changes are mostly internal, Naruto explained. But yeah, it worked better than something went wrong with this response, please try again. Chapter 2 Bro. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.